Species. Unite.
We want people to stop eating these animals, and the only way to do it is to showcase them in a light where people see them as individuals, and not just a sandwich in the morning or breakfast or a dinner at Christmas or holidays. These are individuals that feel pain, that feel happiness, that feel sadness, and have friends and have families and have these big, beautiful units, and they love each other. And when we showcase that, we get messages on a daily basis and people stop eating meat because of the animals at Arthur's Acres.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Novogratz. This is Species Unite. In 2018, Todd Friedman walked onto a property he was told was empty. Instead, he found a pig, abandoned, starving, and alone. Todd named him Arthur, and that moment changed everything. It sparked the creation of Arthur's Acres, a sanctuary built on land that once functioned as a backyard slaughterhouse. What followed was not a straightforward rescue story, but 7 years of a lot of hard work, big decisions, and a commitment to doing right by animals who are almost always treated as expendable. Pigs used in laboratories, pigs bred and discarded, pigs sold under the myth of being teacup pigs, pigs so neglected or obese that they're on the brink of death. Today, Arthur's Acres is home to 50 pigs, each treated as an individual. It's become a place where people don't just learn about pigs, they fall in love with them. This conversation is about what happens when you really see who pigs are and why sanctuaries matter. Todd, thank you so much. It is so nice to be here at Arthur's Acres.
Thank you for coming. You're very welcome.
I have never spent time around 50 pigs. Was it 50? It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's incredible to see all of these pigs. And I would love to go back and talk about how all this started.
It's one of my favorite stories. I was working in another sanctuary and really absolutely fell in love with pigs and decided that one day I would like to really have a place that is just focused on pigs. And so when I started looking at properties, this was my second property. I knew the real estate agent. The real estate agent said, just go on to the property. There's no one there anymore. It's no problem. I'll meet you there. I'm running late. I said, great. So as soon as I entered the front gate, I saw a rooster run past me. I was like, that's a little odd. And then got a couple of feet later and I saw there was a peacock on the deck. So then he showed up, the real estate agent showed up, and I said, there's animals here. It's like, oh, there might have been some left behind. He said something about a pig and maybe even a horse. And I said, what? And I walked away from him. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go find the animals. This is really weird. So I went to the hallway, went through a couple of doors, heard a sound, and discovered a pig. He ran up to me. I named him Arthur right away, and that was my grandfather, and the name just came to me, and I was like, Arthur. It was really hot that day. It was almost 100 degrees, and it never gets that hot up here. I saw his food was maggot covered. If a pig is not eating, it's not a good situation. So the food was just spoiled and old, and his water was black with stuff swimming in it. So the agent comes and finds me eventually. I said, I'm taking this pig.
How big was he? Because I met Arthur today.
He was only 40 pounds. Okay. So he was young.
Okay.
He was very friendly and very happy. I mean, honestly, he was just happy not to be abandoned and not to be alone. He was like locked in a hallway where he didn't have access to the outside. He had nothing, no bedding, nothing. So he was just living in absolute squalor. He was very sweet. I was able to handle him and like it was nothing. And took him into my house. And he was fine. He was super chill. And then took him to Cornell the next day, and he was riddled with parasites. So got him treated for parasites, got him neutered, and the rest is kind of a long, short story of the history of Arthur's Acres.
Talk about what this property actually was.
It was a slaughterhouse. So it was a backyard butcher. It was this guy that was living in all over the place and decided that it would be a good hobby to have a backyard butcher, to raise animals and kill them for food for people. I've met the person, and it was someone who likes to try a lot of different things, and obviously thought that having, and we call it a backyard butcher, or a slaughterhouse, or a small scale slaughterhouse, and you'd come and you'd pick your animal and you would take it in the back in the room that we saw, and he had bone saws, he had all this stuff, and he was killing the animals with hammers. A neighbor actually told me that I was in the supermarket and I met this guy, and he's like, "Oh, you bought the property from this so-and-so person." And I had a restaurant, and he said, "Do you want a pig?" And I said, "Sure." And I came to the property to pick up the pig, and the pig was just standing there, a live pig. And he started hitting it repeatedly in the head with a hammer.
Oh my God.
And this is the person who ate meat. This is the person that owns a restaurant that sells meat, that was traumatized.
I'm sure.
He was absolutely traumatized. He was so traumatized by the way these animals were being treated. The place was a mess. They were burning garbage in the driveway, and there was dead animals everywhere. When I walked in the property, there was dead animals everywhere.
So
Not even full dead animals. There was parts. There's body parts.
I guess that can go two ways, right? You either want to take over a place like that and turn it into something completely the opposite, or you want to run for your life.
I wanted to run for my life, and I wanted nothing to do with this property, but I kept being drawn back to the property. The property was for sale, and it was a big property. It was close proximity to Cornell, which is 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is very close to a world-renowned vet hospital, and far enough away where the property was less expensive. And I lowballed. I mean, less than 50% of the asking, figuring I'm going to do everything not to get this property. I was looking at other stuff and concentrating on figuring out where I can establish at that point, but had Arthur being held at another sanctuary for me. And my dad ended up getting sick and having heart surgery, and I was on the way home from the hospital. I got a message that I got the property.
And
He decided on the price.
What did you think when that happened?
I was scared. Well, one, I'm just trying to figure out my dad's situation, and two, it was just like, oh, now I need to figure out where I'm going to get some money from. So again, where everything kept bringing me back to this place, my uncle found out and decided to co-sign for the property. All the signs were pointing to, this is where you need to be.
Aside from, obviously I have no idea what it looked like. So the stuff inside, I'm sure, was just horrific. But the actual land is incredible.
It was horrible too. The fencing was falling down. There was no drainage, so all the pastures were muddy. But, for whatever reason, I had the vision of what this place looks like. And this took 7 years of grueling work to get it where it is. And everybody that drives past, everybody that looks at this, every neighbor that ever saw this property before, there's not one person that doesn't walk on this property or drive by this property and say it's absolutely exquisite. And it is gorgeous. And it took me till 7 years to love this property. I hated it. Obviously, it was a big jump in the beginning because we had to get it ready for animals. We did $40,000 worth of drainage to make the pastures dry and manageable. So much little stuff that went into the infrastructure, and my philosophy, the sanctuaries have different philosophies, and, a lot of them aren't wrong. And this is my philosophy, is have the infrastructure and then get the animals. Yeah. There's sanctuaries that get animals and then kind of strive for infrastructure. My philosophy is I want infrastructure and then I want to then safely take the animals when the infrastructure is in place. We went in stages. We kept our original large barn and renovated it for 2 years. It's unrecognizable from what it was. The brand new fencing, The pastures are beautiful and drier. I've walked every part of this property 1,000 times. I know every blade of grass, and really work very hard on getting the pastures perfect, opening up the woods for pigs to have a natural environment. We have 5 ponds that, one was existing.
Right.
And the rest I built. and not knowing how to build ponds. I had really no experience with that kind of stuff. We are hyper focused on the animals in our care. We take the problematic cases that people aren't unable to take because they're just not set up for it. We have a great relation with Cornell, so we take animals that need urgent medical care and continuing medical care. All the renovations were done to make it the life for the animals as best as we can do, and for the life of the people caring for the animals to make it easier. I've worked at sanctuaries, I volunteered at sanctuaries, and I've taken bits and pieces, good and bad, from the places and stuff I know I don't want to do and stuff that I know I want to do to make it easier on people that are caring for the animals too, to make it the lives better for everybody.
When you brought Arthur here, so he was one of the first pigs.
I did not want to bring him back here to a place where he lost all his family before he had other animals here, other pigs here. I rescued Faye and Vivian from a lab that they were being burned for medical testing. And it was very calculated. I did not want him to come back and sleep one night in that barn alone where he lost his family.
And so Faye and Vivian came from testing. I also met them today. They are gorgeous and enormous.
Enormous.
And Arthur, too, is enormous. How big are they?
I mean, Faye and Vivian are in the 800 range, and Arthur's in the 700 range.
Yeah, they're big.
And they are absolutely bonded. They are always together, and they have been bonded since day one. And it's an absolutely beautiful relationship.
How do you start this? So you have 3 pigs, and like who comes next and how? And
well, it's just, the intake process evolved, but it's always the same. There's 3 criteria. There's emotional, financial, and physical, and what we can handle. So physically, this is tedious work. Volunteers are few and far between in the winter. People that want to do this work are a select few. And financial. With any kind of animal, whether it's domestic or farm, it's pretty inexpensive and pretty easy to raise an animal that's healthy. It gets into when they need medical attention is when it gets very expensive, and vet care is way more expensive than it's ever been by leaps. It's getting out of control. We have to make sure that, with the 3 levels of criteria, whether, the financial, the emotional, and the physical, there's also, is it a right fit? And are we going to put the animals that are already in our care in jeopardy if this animal comes here? We get a minimum of 5 calls a day for every kind of animal, and several pigs a day. I mean, a day we get called about, like several pigs a day, not a week, not a month, a day.
And they're all over the country?
All over the country. And we try to work as locally as possible, but we do have a niche of what pigs we could take. We make sure that we take the pigs that not everybody will take. So we're very calculated on the animal that comes here that fits the criteria, whether they need medical care or they're going to need physical therapy or they're going to need continual therapy. We believe in alternative therapies. We have a pig that Willow gets acupuncture every 2 weeks. We have MagnaWave, we have cold laser therapy, we have Beamer blanket. We believe in all these therapies. And so we have animals, when we take them in, know that we can offer that treatment to give them a better life. We want to get them to a healthy place so that they're fine. But on intake, it's animals that really need the care that we're able to provide.
So who is here? Like, where do they come from?
So we rescued, for example, Regan and Russell from Iowa. I flew to Iowa. I went undercover with PETA to a factory farm. At the end of the tour of the property, they decided it was okay for us to take 2 pigs home with us. That is our farthest rescue and that was during COVID. And during COVID, they were just suffocating pigs. They were putting them in big warehouses, shutting off the air and letting them suffocate. So we decided to do a joint rescue with PETA, and I was only supposed to do transport. They asked me to do transport and go undercover, and when they got on the property, I couldn't let them go. So situations like that. And then we have Katniss, Prim, and Rue, who were locked in a shed in upstate New York in the middle of the woods, left to die, living in their own feces, and they were skeletons. And that's probably the worst of the worst. The vets have never seen animals so skinny. And then you have situations like Anne Claire and Harleen Rita, who they were the only surviving pigs in a litter. And at breeders and farms, they don't really want to take care of those animals. Harleen was 1.4 pounds when we got called about her. She was the only surviving piglet. The breeder didn't want to care for her. You have, to the end of the day, organized someone picking her up within 5 hours. When we got back, she was 4 pounds. She went right to Cornell, and she was pretty perfect. I think every doctor came out of the woodwork to meet her. The most adorable animal you've ever seen in your life. I mean, she was 4 pounds of this fuzziness of perfect. Oh. And then she lived in our room, in a crib, and then decided that she wanted to sleep in our bed. And she slept between my legs under covers for a while. And then she tried to eat the dog. So she was moved to the barn. And she has great relationships with everybody. It's one of the things that we like to do to showcase is she has a very individual personality. She's touched so many people, and it's so cool to see that. We want people to stop eating these animals, and the only way to do it is to showcase them in a light where people see them as individuals, and not just a sandwich in the morning or breakfast or a dinner at Christmas or holidays. These are individuals that feel pain, that feel happiness, that feel sadness, and have friends and have families and have these big, beautiful units, and they love each other. And when we showcase that, we get messages on a daily basis that people stop eating meat because of the animals at Arthur's Acres.
Yeah. They fall in love with the individual.
100%. And it's the coolest thing. It's the reason why we do what we do.
There's a lot of pigs here, or I think there's a lot, I don't know how many, that were originally intended to be a pet, and they end up in a shed or in a garage or that sort of thing. How does that go so wrong so often?
Because we are fighting against an animal that breeders have created that doesn't exist. I mean, that's what it is. And for people to try to get people to understand that breeders are selling a myth. There's no such thing as a teacup pig. To try to explain that to anybody and everybody that wants to hear it, because there's people that think this is an animal that 20-pound or 25-pound healthy pig exists.
I've had so many people say to me, "Oh, I want a mini pig." I'm like, there are no mini pigs.
Well, a mini pig is any pig under 300 pounds.
But they're talking about the little...
They're talking about a 20 or 30-pound pig that legitimately does not exist. So that's like, I think we're probably the only animal rescue, and I mean farm animals rescues across the world. Because there's dog and cat rescues. There's every kind of rescue. Horse, there's donkey, there's wolf, there's everything. Every animal there's a rescue for. I can't recall another rescue that has to deal with an animal that doesn't exist.
No,
I mean, it's
funny, but it's not.
It is. The craziest thing is it's legitimately something that doesn't exist.
And do you get calls from people saying, we thought we bought a teacup pig and all of a sudden now we have a gigantic pig?
Daily. And it always goes bad quickly. I think I'd say half the potbelly coons on the property, I can't give you the exact number without doing research, are from the exact situation of, I bought a pig. That's Princess and Wilbur right there. That's So that's our 17-year-old pig that was bred for 10 years, locked in a complete dark stall, didn't see the light of day for 10 years. We rescued her from the bad situation.
How long has she been here?
6 years.
And did she ever live out down at the barn, or did she always
for like a couple months, and then just walked to the house and walked in and went to sleep
and stayed here?
Never left. Wilbur's been in the house since day one. He slept in the barn one night, said, "I don't like this," came in the house. Princess was a second potbelly pig and just wandered up to the house, walked to the front door, walked inside, went to sleep, and never looked back. They can live wherever they want to live.
Right.
It's fine. If they behave in the house and they want to be in here, you're fine. We've had pigs start in the house and say, I don't want to be here anymore. Most of them don't. Most of them want to be pigs. Most of them want to graze. Most of these two do not.
Right.
They graze, and Wilbur goes and graze. He acts like a supervisor. He thinks we're taking care of 49 other pigs here. Look at this. He goes out and he grazes, but does not interact with any other pig except for they're in love. But besides her, he goes in the pasture during the day. Everybody that lives in the barn does not interact with anybody, comes back in the house, take naps, and thinks he's just supervising.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So we get calls 3 times or twice from the New York teacups. Was it 3 times or twice this year? Like 24 hours after they bought this pig. And they're like, we don't know what to do. The breeder's not calling us back. They're not eating. And we've gotten 3 of them homes. Like right away. We've organized them to pick them up. And then the breeder calls me and yells at me and wants to sue me and do all this. I mean, absolutely irrational.
How come no one's suing the breeder? These people that are like literally selling something that doesn't exist.
I don't think the regulations are there. They're considered farm animals, so it doesn't matter. They sell for anywhere from $600 to $2,000. The people don't even care about the money. They're like, we can't handle this. We don't know what we're getting into. And this is before they got big. This was within 24 hours.
Just owning a pig.
And they are literally the most amazing house animals you can ever have. If you're set up for it, it's perfect.
Right. But most people aren't.
No. I mean, you don't want to go to work for 8 hours and leave them in your house. They should have access to outside. They should be able to graze. But I couldn't think of a more perfect pet if you're set up for it. And adopting a pet, not buying a pet. But legitimately, they tell you to feed them a shot glass of food twice a day. And that's it. They give you instructions to starve them. And they did the average lifespan of a teacup micro pig that is what as a teacup micro pig and that has instructions to keep them that small as 2 years. They go into organ failure from starvation. We had one pig that we were called about that was kept in a fish tank because they believed that they would grow like a fish grows to their environment. They would believe that. I mean, I would tell you stories. I could tell you stories for hours that are so crazy and that people believe, they want to believe that this exists.
It's just so weird to me because this has been going on a long time. It's not new.
No, it's not.
Right. And that people still.
I'd say 25 years because I remember as a kid hearing about it.
Right.
So it's longer than 25 years. But yeah, I'd say legitimately in the focus of people thinking they're going to get this exotic 25-pound pig that's going to walk on a leash. And they do. They can walk on a leash. They can be potty trained. I mean, they're clean. They're amazing. They're smart. They're smarter than dogs. They're the 4th smartest animal. So pig caregivers that have pigs as their pets are an amazing, unique group and are obsessed. Anybody that has a pig that is their pet, they're like Swifties. They're obsessed.
But just not to confuse, you're talking about pig caretakers who are actually equipped and know what they're doing.
Yes.
Versus a lot of the pigs that have ended up here because they were with people who thought a pig
good pig
got a pig
caregivers are obsessed.
And I know you say, and I've heard this forever, that they're smarter than dogs. But will you give some examples?
So Max, who I raised since he was a couple weeks old, he was 6 pounds. He's now 700 pounds. He has a hoof issue right now, and we had to load him up to Cornell. So he had to go to Cornell. We usually load him before feeding, so everybody's sleeping. The trailer was all set up. This is like 2 or 3 days ago. And some pigs are harder to load than the others. So trailer's all set up. There's 4 of us ready to load him up. I peeked in the window where all the big farm pigs were sleeping. And from around a corner, I just said, Max. And there's 16 pigs sleeping in there. He got up, walked out the gate.
Wow.
And the rest stayed sleeping. I mean, that's just like a little example. I remember when Katniss is unfortunately no longer with us. There was like 10 pigs out and she got medication every day for arthritis. So after they were done eating breakfast, I would give out medications. And so she was eating in the pasture with everybody and having breakfast. And I had to give her medication sandwich. And there was someone here and I took a video of it. And it's one of her first viral videos that I'm around the corner. She couldn't see my face. They're all eating. Katniss. walked around the corner, grabbed her sandwich, and went back. She knew the routine based. They are incredibly routine based. You can get them to do anything if you have a routine. When we rescue babies, especially farm pigs, then they live in our room in a crib. One side of it is wee pads, one side is their blankets. Instantly. I'm talking 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, will go, and pee on the wee pad and go back to bed.
Right.
They will never just pee on the blankets. No training, no anything. They're instant because, it's so hard to, even we rescued her. She's a year old. This is Winnie, a dog. And she was supposed to be potty trained and she wasn't. And it wasn't terrible, but tons of accidents in the house. And, it's fine. We're outside a lot, so it's no big deal. So you take a dog and it was weeks of training, and you take a pig and it's minutes. And people are absolutely blown away and how clean they are. And there's no pee or poop in their stalls. There's people like, oh, isn't it so hard? I'm like, obviously taking care of, 70 animals, 50 pigs is an undertaking. People have goats, people have horses, people have chickens, and they go to the bathroom where they sleep and eat.
Right.
Pigs don't.
I did notice right when we walked into the first barn today, it doesn't smell.
And that is probably one of the number one things people say. They expect that it smells.
Well, you just think anytime there's so many animals in a barn.
When I go on a tour and I give people tours, and I basically in the first minute, I say, everything you know about pigs is wrong. You've been taught something, it's marketing, and it's not true, because it's easier to eat a dumb, dirty animal than the fourth smartest animal and the cleanest animal.
Right.
So you've been sold a bill of goods. When you talk about pigs and they talk about a pigsty is when you're keeping animals in a small location. They choose one place to go to the bathroom and that just spreads. Keeping pigs in one location. And they usually pick up an area, a corner, and that's where they go to the bathroom and it just spreads. So, and if they're in a small area, that's going to get muddy, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get gross. When you talk about having a pig in mud acts as three things. Pigs can't sweat, so to regulate their temperature, they need to drink, they need to have access to water, and they use mud. Mud keeps the skin cool, it keeps their body temperature cool, and our Yorkshires, our pink ones, don't have pigment in their skin, and acts as a sunscreen and an insect repellent. So they're super smart. They know that.
It must be amazing here in the summer.
It's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, our day starts at 7 and ends at 9 at night. You randomly find yourself just sitting in pastures at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, just watching pigs or sitting with pigs or enjoying the outside. And, this is not for people that don't love the outside. And we really enjoy it. Obviously, there's between the work and there's a lot of work to be done, but it's pretty freaking magical.
I mean, it's magical now in the snow too. Maybe I have, but I don't know. When I saw your big pigs today, I was astonished at how big they are. Will you talk about how big they are, the big pigs?
It's hard and for me to realize how big. And sometimes I get like epiphany and they're like, wow, they're pretty big. But it's like when you're raising from babies, they don't look big to you and they're not intimidating and they're not. Again, this is the misnomer that, pigs are angry and mean and stuff like that. They're not. So I rescued a pig, King Carl, and he was 10 years locked in a stall used for breeding. We were called about him when we first opened, and I couldn't take him because I didn't have ISO space, and I was taking Princess at the time, and I just couldn't do it because I was by myself. And this all leads to your question. So I'm taking the slow road to your question. He went to Cornell. They decided to get him neutered, brought him to Cornell for vet checks. They found him a home. He was going, I guess, farther away. And I saw Carl. And this was the biggest pig I've ever seen in my life. He was well over 1,000 pounds. And I saw him and I kissed his snout. I just fell in love with this pig. I saw the post up that they found Carl home. They were excited. And I just said, I met him at Cornell. He's wonderful. I'm in love with him. He's amazing. They're like, do you want him? I said, what do you mean? I thought he has a home. They're like, it's far away. We don't want him to travel that far. I said, can you keep him for 6 weeks? I can't have him. I have an unspayed female. on the property that is not healthy enough to get spayed, and I can't have a male that just got neutered because they have testosterone. They're like, yes. When he came to the property, unfortunately, we had a fire in our main barn, and when we started rebuilding the new barn, we had to adjust the doors so that he could fit. So we do reverse Dutch doors. So they have piggy doors. So normal Dutch doors for horses, the top opens and the bottom stays closed. We have the top stays closed and the bottom opens so they can get out. So they had to custom make the doors because they're usually 36 inches. And so he was 40 inches high.
Wow.
So they had to adjust the size of the doors because he was so big.
And he lived for a while.
16 years, which is awesome for a pig that size. And he was incredible. But that was a situation where you saw this pig and not everybody was just, they stop in their tracks because you were just in awe of this amazing, huge animal. And there's a couple pictures when I see pictures, I'm like, wow, they look really big there. And
they're really tall.
They're very tall.
What I think is so unexpected.
They're very tall. And I'm sorry, I think it was 48 inches high. We always got comments from people that would drive by and see King Carl in the pasture. They're like, what is that? They're like, what is that animal? And he looked like a hippo. From the behind especially, he just looked like this hippo, but he was so big. He was so big and gave off so much heat. The other pigs would like surround him like a fireplace in the winter. They're big, but they're gentle and they're cool. And they like to kiss. They like to snuggle. They like belly rubs. I mean, when you see an 800-pound pig and you walk up to her and start scratching her belly and they tumble over her belly rub, you kind of feel the ground rumble a little.
Yeah.
Because an 800-pound pig just hit the ground. And it's pretty cool. They're pretty fantastic.
So you get multiple calls a day.
Multiple calls a day.
And is that hard to say, no, can't help you?
It's emotionally draining. In my head, I'm like, okay, if we move this pig this way, and I do it almost every conversation, they're going to complain. They're going to get mad. And I have to go very clinical because the people like, my husband or my wife has cancer. They're dying and they'll be crying. And I'm like, can you do me a favor? Let's just stick to the facts. And I want to see how I can help you. Because I'm going to hear a story like this 3 times a day, 5 times a day. I'm going to try and help you, but making me sad and making me cry
isn't helping.
Some of those situations can come here.
Yeah.
But we get so filled so fast. And when there's an opening, it fills up so quickly within minutes.
You have a pig coming in next week.
We have a pig coming next week, three days from now. And we weren't taking any more pigs this winter, but this pig was posted about. We watched it. We were hoping that someone would step in but take it. It's definitely a pig that is in our wheelhouse, that needs weight loss, that needs medical attention, needs physical therapy, and needs a lot of attention. And we have access to all that. And watching the posts, and I see, someone's willing to take it. And I call the people that, that we work with rehoming, and they're like, they're not qualified. So we talk, and I'm like, okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
When we have an opening, it's very specific and it's very short. But we do have a network, and that network is shrinking because the epidemic of pigs that need homes, I feel like, is getting worse by the day. You have unscrupulous breeders out there that, the rehoming people that we deal with, have a criteria where they don't do it to rentals. You cannot be renting your house because the person that you may be renting to you now is great. But if you move, the chances of you finding a place that's going to allow a pig are slim to none. And those people change their minds.
Yeah.
And so they also can contact the municipalities to make sure that you're allowed to have a pig. You know how many breeders sell to people that they're not allowed to have pigs? Probably half. Because they're considered livestock. So you're going to be in the middle of suburbia. You're not allowed to have livestock in the middle of suburbia. It's an epidemic. Yeah. I'd have to say it's a flat out epidemic.
And then one more thing about the people who try to keep a pig as a pet aren't equipped to, because you have the really emaciated dying of starvation pigs, but you also have the ones that are obese that you get, and that's one of your specialties is obese pigs. Will you talk about like how obese some of these pigs come in here and how, I mean, they're like on the verge of death, right?
On the verge of death. The problem is with them as well is pigs are dangerous to go under sedation and anesthesia anyway because of their body structure. Obviously, we take all the precautions in the world. Cornell has really mastered anesthesia for them, but they are complicated. You have to weigh the risk of sedating an obese pig to whatever's happening with them. And usually they're not spayed, usually they're not neutered. And if you don't spay a pig, the chance of them getting reproductive cancer is really high. So you need to spay them right away. And neutering a pig is a little easier on an obese pig, but it's not. Spaying an obese pig is out of the question. But then as they get older, it's just a question. It's not a question of if they're going to get reproductive cancer, it's when. They just are. It's bad. Reproductive cancer in female pigs, unspayed female pigs, is incredibly high. And so we have Daisy, who we rescued 8 years old, that was morbidly obese, had to wait a year to get her spayed, and she got mammary cancer. So she's had 2 mammary cancer surgeries and they removed it. And so it took a full year to get her at an ideal weight that they can spay her.
But they're coming in here that obese because people are just don't know what to feed them.
You have 2 ends of the spectrum. You have the ones that you have a micropig, a teacup, and think this thing exists, and so we're going to starve them. Or you have the ones that pigs eat everything. Pigs are pigs. You know, pigs are a derogatory term. If I use pigs, if you look at my posts on social media, I don't use the word pig because it's considered derogatory and it's going to get flagged.
What?
Yeah, I don't use pigs. Wow. I use souls. I use every word that you can think of besides pigs. And if you go, look, I call the bigs and the littles the littles. I don't say big pigs, little pigs. I don't use the word pigs because it's a derogatory term. So people with pigs eat like a pig. So they will clear their tables, they'll clear their refrigerators and just give them everything. I mean, I've seen posts of people give their pigs bacon. It's freaking.
Oh my God.
I get in internet fights more than you'd like to believe. Well, you might believe it. I fight a lot of people on the internet for mistreating pigs.
Yeah.
And I just wrote someone that was having their pig up and downstairs. They're not built for stairs. And I'm like, your pig's going to get hurt. I just wrote someone else that they're feeding their pig, popcorn, and pigs can't have salt because they can't sweat and they have to have limited sodium. So you have 2 ends of the spectrum where people have pigs and feed them everything that you can think of. They empty the table and they're done with dinner. They put it in a bowl and they give it to the pig. And they think that's what pigs are supposed to be.
And then they have these enormous obese pigs, and then they call you and say, we don't know what to do with our pig.
Eat like a pig. Or going to the unscrupulous breeder, not getting people prepared for having a pig, that the pigs don't have access. You need a ramp. You need a backyard. You need all this. And the people don't. The rescue that we're doing on Saturday hasn't been outside for 5 years. They have steps. Not a thing. Obese. Gets up to eat, gets up to go to the bathroom, and sleeps the rest of the time.
They must be so depressed too.
They are, and we work with them and they come around. You get discouraged, but it always works out. But the thing is that's not uncommon. I'm not surprised. That doesn't surprise me that the pig hasn't seen. We have several pigs here that have never never touched grass before they came here. That's the least of my surprise in this whole situation. I don't think there's anything on this rescue that we're going to do, hasn't been outside in 5 years, morbidly obese, haven't had a hoof trim, the hooves are overgrown, being fed dog food, skin is bad. There's not one thing. And it may, when I meet him and, we interact, there might be some surprise, but this is normal. When we rescued Daisy, Daisy did not get vet care. She was living in a pump house in Kentucky. She was morbidly obese, hadn't had a vet care in 8 years. We had a friend pick her up in Kentucky and drive her here. And she was just being fed absolute crap. And I remember picking up Morty. Morty, I was called by the neighbor. Again, obese pig. Neighbor said, "Oh, our neighbor has this pig. The son bought it at a county fair, and they didn't want to take care of it. The grandparents have it. It's living on a second-story deck in a little dog igloo. Has not been on the grass. Got pneumonia last year. Was really sick, and his hooves are overgrown. Can you cut his hooves?" They just call me to trim his hooves. I'm like, I don't really do that for other people. I'm not really insured, and I know how to do it. But then they send a picture. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. I get there. The family's surrounding me, ready to do a hoof trim. And I've already decided this pig can't stay here. It's not healthy enough. So in my head, they think I'm getting ready to trim his hooves, but I'm ready to have a conversation about taking their pig. And I looked over and there's 4 or 5 people looking at me. I said, it's possible to love an animal to death, and you're doing it. I'm going to take him with me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's not staying here. And so we had to get him out of the igloo. And they brought a grilled cheese sandwich out. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh my God.
Oh, we never give that. And that's always, it's just trying to get him out. And I did that with this pig, Louie, who was so obese he couldn't walk. The vet called me and said, you need to pick up this pig. This pig can't walk. He's obese. This is his last chance. And he didn't make it. He was with us for a couple months and didn't make it. We thought we was going to make it, and damage was done. And they brought him out like these bacon strips, the bacon dog treats.
Oh.
Your pig is fat because you overfed them. It's not a complicated thing. They're taking in more food than they're burning off. Your pig is not 400 pounds because they're getting a half an apple.
From my experience here today, and I mean, I've been around pigs before, but never 50 and never such tall pigs.
They're amazing.
It's all joy. They're so joyful. You just feel so good around them. They're happy. Everyone's coming up to say hello. Their little ears are flopping. It's so much joy.
They feed your soul. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
I loved it.
We don't have to do anything. They speak for themselves. No. And that's the coolest thing in the world. Our social media. You don't have to do anything. No. You literally just have to whip out your camera and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
We just brought some pumpkins. I took some videos and I didn't do nothing, and they're going to be amazing. They're beautiful. And there's people that are going to see that and be like, wow.
I'm not going to eat pigs anymore.
Nope. 100%. And if you come here,
there's no way you could eat a pig if you came here. We
book tours. Usually we only do 2 a day because I do most of the tours, and we'll always squeeze them in. We're like, because once you've been here, you're changed.
It's true.
No one's ever left this property without being changed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. It was really a gift.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming.
To learn more about Todd, to learn about Arthur's Acres, go to our website, speciesunite.com. We will have links to everything. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Species Unite. If you have a spare moment and could do us a favor, please subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps people find the show. I would like to thank everyone at Species Unite, including Gary Knudsen, Caitlin Pierce, Amy Jones, Paul Healy, Santina Polkilink, Hannah Gabrielson, Patrick Norton, and Anna Kolner, who wrote and performed today's music. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.